وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي أما بعد. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As you know, in a few days we will be coming to the remembrance of the 40th day after Ashura, which is known as Arba'een in Arabic. Sometimes it is known as Chihilum in Persian or in Urdu. And this is a very important day for us to remember the sacrifice of Imam Hussein, and not only the tragedy, but also our responsibility and our connection to the mission of Imam Hussein. There is a time for us to be in the moment and to experience the passion and the grief of a tragedy that has just taken place. And that is how Ahlul Bayt would practice and how they taught us to grieve on the day of Ashura. The day of Ashura is not a time for us to be thinking about how we are going to preserve that remembrance in our life. It is a time for us to live that tragedy and to understand the gravity of what took place. There are many tragedies that take place in human society, what we call natural disasters. Then there are human-made disasters of war and destruction and oppression. But the event of Karbala is neither a natural disaster, nor is it just a human story of suffering or grief. It is a tragedy that took place and shook the very religion of Islam. And the victory of Imam Hussein is what preserved this religion, our scripture, the Quran, and the recognition of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as the final messenger, and the authenticity of his teachings and his path. All of these things were protected and were preserved by Imam Hussein. When he was attacked and when he was martyred, it was not a human tragedy, but it was an attack on Islam itself, on the religion of God itself. On the day of Ashura, we remember the tragedy. After the day of Ashura, we think about our responsibility and our connection to Imam Hussein and ensuring that we protect it and we preserve it. One of the ways is by remembering Imam Hussein throughout our year. It's not limited to Muharram. And also giving importance to the ziyarat and the visitation of Imam Hussein. And because one of the most important days of ziyarat is Arba'een, and many of us, we know people who have already left for that visitation, that ziyarat, or will be doing so in the coming days, and from throughout the Muslim world, in particular the Shia of Ahlul Bayt and the followers of Ahlul Bayt, but also people from the Sunni school of thought, and in fact all schools of thought within Islam, and even people who are not followers of the Islamic religion, they also value this visitation of Imam Hussein, and they also participate in that great worship, even if their understanding of who Imam Hussein was and what he stood for is not as complete as those who are followers of Ahlul Bayt. Because Arba'een is such an important time of visitation, I want to mention a few ahadith from Ahlul Bayt about the importance of loving and connecting to Imam Hussein and the importance and the reward of ziyarat. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The first hadith is from our sixth Imam, Imam Ja'far ibn Muhammad al-Sadiq alayhi as-salam. It is reported that our Imam said, قال من أراد الله به الخير قذف في قلبه حب الحسين. If somebody wishes if Allah wishes goodness for somebody, then He places in their heart, He casts into their soul a love of Imam Hussein, وَحُبَّ زِيَارَتِهِ, and the love of doing ziyarah and visiting Imam Hussein. People have different dreams, that if I have enough time and health and money, then I am going to see the Grand Canyon, or I am going to see this beach, or this island, or this ancient ruins, or whatever it is that people want to see. A restaurant they want to go to, a country they want to visit, a place that they want to experience. But those whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wishes goodness for, then He casts into their qalb, into their heart, this burning desire that if I have the money, if I have the health, if I have the time, then I want to go and I want to visit my master and my Imam, Sayyid al-Shuhada, Hussein ibn Ali alayhim as-salam. And the Imam says the reverse is also true. وَمَنْ أَرَادَ اللَّهُ بِهِ السُّوءِ, and if Allah wishes ill for a person, then قَذَفَ فِي قَلْبِهِ بُغْضَ الْحُسَيْنِ عَلَيْهِ السَّلَامِ وَبُغْضَ زِيَارَتِهِ. And if Allah does not wish well for a person, then He casts into their heart a dislike of Imam Hussein and a dislike of the ziyarat of Imam Hussein. So if I don't find that desire within me, whatever the excuse might be, it's a long flight and there's difficulty at customs and maybe people's habits or culture doesn't meet my standard or doesn't meet my expectation. If there isn't a desire to go and to do ziyarat of Imam Hussein, that means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has removed that blessing from my heart. Now, just before we move to the next hadith, a reminder that man arada Allahu bihil khair and man arada Allahu bihis su, these are not random. If Allah wants well for a person or Allah wants ill for a person, it isn't because Allah has a personal grudge. He says, I like this person's talent at football, or I like this person's family, or I like how this person dresses, so let me give them a little bit of goodness in their life. And I don't like how this person talks, or I don't like how this person is presenting in life, and therefore, because of that personal grudge or personal whim, Allah would take something away from a person. That is not how it operates. If Allah wishes well for a person, it is because that person, through their intention, through their character, through their actions, has earned the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if Allah wishes ill for a person, it is because that person, through their intention, through their character, through their words and deeds, has earned punishment or has caused themselves to be removed from Allah's mercy. So another way to express this same meaning is to say that if a person has goodness within them, if a person has sincerity and humbleness and is worthy of God's guidance, that is وَمَنْ أَرَادَ اللَّهُ بِهِ الْخَيْرِ, then Allah provides that mercy and that guidance through those personalities whom He has perfected and He has chosen to be guides and role models on the path of Allah. So قَذَفَ اللَّهُ فِي قَلْبِهِ حُبَّ الْحُسَيْنِ وَحُبَّ زِيَارَتِهِ. Allah says that you are worthy of my mercy. Love Imam Hussein. Have this desire to go and visit the shrine of Imam Hussein and send your greetings to your Imam, to shed your tears, and also to worship Allah and ask Allah for His favor at that blessed place. where Imam Hassan gave his life and the life of his nearest and dearest ones for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And on the reverse side, if I have shown that I don't care about serving God, about worshiping God, that my priorities are not aligned with Allah or Imam Hassan, that if Allah wants righteousness, righteousness is not important to me. If Allah wants piety, then humility and piety and chastity and modesty are not important to me. If Allah wants justice, then justice is not something that is important to me. There can be injustice around me and it doesn't bother me. Or maybe I myself don't make an effort to be just in my own life. I act with vengeance or with emotion in my own relationships. If I'm angry at somebody, I'll take revenge even if it is unjust. Well, that tells Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that my priorities are not His priorities. My priorities are not the priorities of Imam Hussein. Because of that unworthiness on my part, then Allah, in a response, وَمَنْ أَرَادَ اللَّهُ بِهِ السُّوء, Allah wishes that person ill. It isn't that Allah starts and initiates that evil for a person. I will start it and I will initiate it. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will close the door of His mercy if I have shown that I am not desirous and worthy of it. But the point is that the way that Allah shows His mercy and shows His love and brings a person towards Him is that connection to Imam Hussein, because Imam Hussein in his life and in his mission and in his martyrdom completely and perfectly encapsulates what it is that Allah wants from a mu'min and what are the principles and the values and the priorities of the life of a believer. There is another hadith also attributed to our sixth Imam, Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam, in which it is reported that our Imam says, مَا مِنْ أَحَدٍ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ إِلَّا وَهُوَ يَتَمَنَّى أَنَّهُ زَارَ الْحُسَيْنَ بْنَ عَلِي عَلَيْهِ السَّلَامِ لِمَا يَرَى مِمَّا يَصْنَعُ اللَّهُ بِزُوَّارِ الْحُسَيْنِ بْنِ عَلِي مِنْ كَرَامَتِهِمْ عَلَى اللَّهِ. On the day of judgment, everybody that will be resurrected and brought forth will hope, or will wish, I should say, that they were among the people who had performed ziyarat of Imam Hussein. Because they will see that those people who prioritized and performed this ziyarah will have a special karama and a special respect in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And how would that not be the case when those people will have the love of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi? They will have the love and the intercession of the Prophet's beloved daughter Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha. When Imam Ali said, as he passed by Karbala on the way to Siffin, that I wish I were present, and Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba said on his deathbed, when he had been poisoned and he was martyred in the same days of Safar, according to one narration, at the beginning of the month, and according to the more authentic narration, at the end of the month of Safar. There are two narrations, either the 7th or the 28th, and the 28th is more authentic. Imam Hassan said that I wish that I were there with you, O my brother Hussein, on the field of Karbala. So when Ahlul Bayt were among the Zuwar of Karbala, and among those who had a special love and desire to be present in Karbala, then the grace of Allah and the love of Allah and the intercession of the chosen ones of Allah will be for those who wish and who perform the ziyarah of Abu Abdullah al-Husayn alayhi salam. And finally, one hadith from our eighth Imam, Ali ibn Musa al-Rida alayhim as-salam, It is reported that our eighth Imam said, "Man zara qabra Abi Abdullah bishatt al-Furat, kaman zara Allah fawqa arshih." If you visit Imam Hussein in his shrine near the Euphrates River, and in the time of Imam Rida, the grave of Imam Hussein was not a secret. People had been performing ziyarah now for generations. But maybe our eighth Imam, he said bishatt al-Furat, to remind us of the suffering and the tragedy and the thirst of Imam Hussein and his companions and even the young members of the family of the Prophet. Our eighth Imam is reported to have said that "Man zara qabra Abi Abdullah bishatt al-Furat, kaman zara Allah fawqa arshih." It is as if that person were privileged by Allah to visit his divine throne in the highest heavens. That is not to visit the throne, the arsh of Allah, but kaman zara Allah fawqa arshih, as if you are in the direct presence of that most sanctified place where even the angels are not able to approach. And only our Prophet and the select chosen ones of Allah are able to get that close. Now, Allah does not have a place. Allah does not have a home or a throne where He is physically located. But there are certain areas where the manifestation of God's glory is greater. And those places have a greater sanctity than any other place. Even in our life, we can experience that. There are certain places that are devoted to the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is present in the marketplace, and Allah is present on the street, and Allah is present in the masjid. And Allah is present when people gather to worship Him. But the manifestation of His glory, that is different in those two places, even though both of them are equally the locations where the presence of Allah can be felt. So the greatest glory of Allah is manifested in His throne. And then that which is above the throne of Allah in the heavens, that is the highest pinnacle of the manifestation of God's glory. Even the closest angels, they are not able to approach, as the story of Mi'raj of our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam informs us. But Karbala is a place in paradise, and Zuwar of Karbala, they are visiting paradise, and not just paradise, but that highest rank. So we should value this ziyarat. Those of you who have been blessed, then consider it a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and don't say, "I have checked it off of my list," but say that I wish to be able to renew that covenant and to go back for ziyarah. Those of you who may not be able to go for whatever reasons, if you can afford to sponsor somebody in your family, in your circle of friends, then send somebody for ziyarah. Even if you have relatives maybe in another country, in Afghanistan or in Pakistan or somewhere else, and they are not able to go, so give that gift of ziyarah. It is basically a gift for a person to go to heaven and have all of their sins washed away and to come back to this earthly life. And not only will it be transformational for them, but it will be transformational for your soul while you are still sitting here. And then we should also remember that if we are not able to go, the ziyarah is not limited to ziyarah min qurb, meaning when you are present. There is also ziyarah an bu'd. So if I am here, then on the day of Arba'een in particular, and in fact, whenever I am able, then I should remember and perform the ziyarat of Imam Hussein, the visitation of Imam Hussein from wherever I am. And it's simple. You can just say, "Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah." That's all you need to say. That is ziyarat of Imam Hussein. "Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah." Today I am doing this ziyarah from my country, from my home, but, oh my Imam, if I have the tawfiq, and if I am honored, then I will come and I will visit, and I will give you my salam from the presence of your shrine. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect and preserve all of those who love Muhammad and Ali Muhammad alayhimus salam. In particular, may He protect the safety, the well-being of all of those who are performing ziyarat of Imam Hussein in Karbala during the days of Arba'een, and all of those who will be remembering and commemorating in any part of the world. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give His mercy to all of the Muslims بحق محمد وآل محمد عليهم السلام. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين، لا سيما علي أمير المؤمنين، وعلى فاطمة الزهراء، وعلى الحسن والحسين، وعلي بن الحسين، ومحمد بن علي، وجعفر بن محمد، وموسى بن جعفر، وعلي بن موسى، ومحمد بن علي، وعلي بن محمد، والحسن بن علي، والحجة بن الحسن القائم المهدي، عجل الله تعالى فرجه وسهل الله مخرجه وظهوره، وجعلنا من أعوانه وأنصاره والمستشهدين بين يديه. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. I seek forgiveness from Allah for myself and all present and all mu'mineen and mu'minat throughout the world. We praise Allah for His bounties and we ask Him from His mercy for ourselves and our families and for our Muslim ummah and for all of humanity. Very briefly in the second khutbah, I want to speak about the importance of ulama for the vibrancy and the health of the Muslim ummah. Earlier this week, one of the great scholars of our generation passed away in Pakistan, Sheikh Muhammad Hussain Najafi. Yesterday, some of you were here. We had a brief majlis in his memory and in his honor. And there is a hadith from several of our ma'asumeen. It is narrated from Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alih, and also from Imam Ali and Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhim as-salam in similar wording. إِذَا مَاتَ الْعَالِمُ or إِذَا مَاتَ الْمُؤْمِنُ الْفَقِيهُ, similar meanings. When an alim passes away or a scholar passes away, ثُلِمَ فِي الْإِسْلَامِ ثُلْمَةٌ, there is a breach that comes into the wall of Islam, لا يسدها شيء, that nothing can repair and nothing can make up for. According to some narrations, إِلَّا خَلَفٌ مِّنْ, unless there is another scholar that stands up and is able to continue the task and the work of that scholar that is deceased. This is the reality of our Islamic religion. It is preserved by those who remember and pass on the teachings and the legacy of Ahlul Bayt. So there are many different ways that we preserve our religion. One is through our individual belief and worship and practice. Another, even more important, is when we come together like we are together today in Jum'ah. We have a congregation and we worship Allah and we reinforce our values together. Then there are occasions when we remember the important events in the history of Islam and in the story of Islam, the events associated with the struggle of our Prophet during his life, and with the occasions of happiness and sadness for Ahlul Bayt. But all of those different parts of our Islamic belief system and practice, they are brought together and they are protected by the tradition of scholarship. And scholarship is not just about expertise. You or I can become an expert in a subject without believing it. One of you can go and study Buddhism and become an expert in Buddhism. Maybe you will become the global authority on Buddhism, but that doesn't mean that you believe in it. And there might be people who are experts in a purely academic sense on Islam, but they are atheists, or they are members of another religion, or they have whatever beliefs they may have. The tradition of scholarship that I am speaking about is expertise, but it is also devotion and service. To practice, to preserve, and to seek the revival of the religious life and the health of the Muslim Ummah. And that is done by ulama. Now, what does that mean for you and for me? It means that we should have a connection. And I will close with a very beautiful hadith of our sixth Imam, Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq alayhi salam, in which he says that either you should be a scholar or you should be a student. Young or old, learn about religion. Don't fill your head with trivia about sports or about politics or about so many other things. Learn about your religion. This will help you in this world and in the hereafter. And if you are not a scholar and you are not a student, then be a lover and be a supporter of that tradition of scholarship within Islam. Affiliate yourself and don't be anything other than those three categories, or you will be destroyed. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us scholarship and the ability to learn and the love for scholars and students of religion. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Inna Allaha ya'muru bil adli wal ihsani wa ita'i dhil qurba wa yanha 'anil fahsha'i wal munkari wal baghi ya'idhukum la'allakum tadhakkarun. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Salatul Jumu'ah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah, ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah, ashhadu anna Aliyan waliyullah. Hayya ala salah, hayya ala salah, hayya ala al-falah, hayya ala al-falah, hayya ala khair al-amal, hayya ala khair al-amal.